The spotlight hit Oliver like a freight train, his small frame trembling under the weight of 1,000 eyes in the humid gymnasium of Lincoln High. I made it, he stammered into the microphone, his voice cracking like thin ice, the words he'd rehearsed for months now spilling out raw and real. But before the applause could swell, a shrill voice sliced through the air like a knife. "That's not normal. Sit down, you freak. Your daddy's turned you into this." Chaos erupted in an instant, the crowd's murmurs igniting into a roar of boos that shook the rafters. But Mason's world narrowed to the woman in the third row, Karen Hargrove, her face twisted in venomous triumph, pointing a manicured finger at his son like she was casting a curse. Mason lunged from his seat in the front row, his heart slamming against his ribs like it was trying to escape. But Oliver didn't flinch. The boy, 18 now, with his wild curls and eyes that saw the world in fractals, clutched the podium, his script fluttering in his grip. "Mommy Karen," Oliver said, his voice steadying with that eerie calm he got when the overload hit. "You don't know about the bridges I crossed, or the storms inside." The gym fell silent, a collective breath held, as if the whole town of Willow Creek, Nebraska, was waiting for the punchline to a joke no one wanted to hear. Mason's hand found Oliver's shoulder in the dim light backstage later, after the principal had whispered apologies and the cops had hauled Karen away in handcuffs, her screams echoing down the hallway like a bad country ballad. "You were incredible, kiddo," Mason murmured, pulling his son into a hug that smelled of sweat and cheap polyester gowns. Oliver melted into it, his body going limp the way it did when words failed him, but his squeeze back said everything. "I did it, Dad. For us." That night, as fireworks popped over the cornfields in lazy July arcs, Mason replayed it all in his mind, the bottle of cheap whiskey burning a path down his throat on the porch swing. Willow Creek wasn't the kind of place that forgave easy. Small-town America, where the flags flew high and the secrets ran deeper than the Platte River. He'd come here 15 years ago, chasing a ghost of a dream. A life with the man he loved, far from the concrete sprawl of Chicago where they'd met. But love, Mason had learned, was a fragile thing, stitched together with hope and held by threads that could snap without warning. It started in a dive bar off Wrigleyville, the kind with sticky floors and neon signs flickering like faulty heartbeats. Mason was 22, fresh out of community college with a graphic design degree that felt more like a participation trophy, sketching logos for local bands that never made it big. Oliver, the Oliver, not his son yet, was the bartender, all sharp jawline and sharper wit, slinging IPAs to Cubs fans nursing their losses. "You draw that." Oliver had nodded at Mason's notebook, doodles of abstract hearts tangled in barbed wire spilling across the pages. Mason had flushed, heat creeping up his neck like he'd been caught stealing. "Yeah, just messing around." But Oliver leaned over the bar, his green eyes locking on like spotlights, and said, "Messing around? That's art, man. Raw as hell." They talked until closing, about everything and nothing. Van Gogh's ear, the ache of unrequited crushes, how the city chewed you up and spat you out if you let it. By dawn, they were tangled in Mason's tiny studio apartment, not in bedsheets but in conversation, the first kiss tasting like coffee and possibility. That was 2008, back when gay marriage was still a pipe dream in most states, and Willow Creek might as well have been another planet. But Chicago was forgiving in its chaos, a mosaic of lives rubbing shoulders without asking too many questions. They built something there. Lazy Sundays at the Art Institute, where Oliver dragged Mason to see the Impressionists and mocked the tourists. Nights at drag shows in Boys Town, laughing until their sides hurt. Quiet moments in the kitchen, Mason's head on Oliver's lap while he read aloud from dog-eared sci-fi novels. Oliver was the dreamer, a literature major turned bar poet, scribbling verses on napkins that Mason turned into album covers. Mason grounded him, the pragmatist with calloused hands from freelance gigs, always plotting their next move. Then came the call that changed everything. Oliver's sister, Lila, dead at 26 from an overdose, leaving behind a 4-year-old boy with eyes too wide for his skull and a diagnosis that came wrapped in pity. Autism spectrum, high-functioning but riddled with storms. "He's mine now," Oliver said, voice breaking over the phone from the hospital in Omaha. Mason didn't hesitate. He packed their lives into a U-Haul, traded skyscrapers for silos, and they landed in Willow Creek, close enough to family for support, far enough from the city's glare to breathe. Raising little Oliver wasn't a fairy tale. It was a battlefield. The kid, Ollie they called him, flapped his hands when excited, melted down over sock seams, and spoke in echoes of movies until he was 7. Willow Creek Elementary called Mason more times than he could count. He's disrupting class again. PTA meetings turned into interrogations. Whispers about those two dads raising a troubled boy. But Oliver, the elder, fought like a lion, advocating at school boards, turning their living room into a sensory haven with weighted blankets and noise-canceling headphones Mason designed himself. Through it all, their love deepened. A quiet fire banked against the winds. They'd steal moments in the barn behind their fixer-upper farmhouse. Oliver's fingers tracing the tattoos on Mason's arms, anchors and compasses, symbols of the steady harbor he'd become. "You're my north?" Oliver would whisper, their foreheads touching under the stars. No grand gestures, just the grind of therapy sessions and IEP meetings, punctuated by stolen kisses that tasted like survival. But cracks formed, subtle at first. Oliver started staying late at the community college, teaching night classes on American Lit, coming home with that distant look, like he'd left part of himself in the pages of Whitman. Mason buried himself in work, freelancing for AG co-ops, designing billboards that screamed, "Harvest Gold," while his own gold slipped away. They argued over small things, Ollie's screen time, the grocery budget, but the undercurrent was fear. Were they enough? For the boy? For each other? The first real fracture came 2 years ago, at Ollie's middle school talent show. The kid had scripted a monologue about space exploration, his voice steady for the first time on a stage. Midway through, a group of older boys snickered, one muttering loud enough, "Freak shows got two dads." Figures. Mason's blood boiled. He stood, ready to charge, but Oliver's hand clamped his wrist. "Let him shine," Oliver hissed. They did, and Ollie finished to thunderous applause. But later, in the truck, Oliver unloaded. "You can't fight every battle, Mace. You're turning into a fortress, not a home." Mason had driven in silence, the words lodging like shrapnel. That night, they made love, slow, desperate, reaffirming. But the seed of doubt took root. Oliver pulled away, not physically, but in the spaces between sentences, the pauses that stretched like Nebraska winters. Now, post-graduation, with Ollie asleep upstairs clutching his diploma like a shield, Mason sat on the porch, the whiskey glass sweating in his palm. The fireworks had faded, leaving crickets and the hum of distant semis on I-80. Footsteps creaked the boards, and Oliver dropped beside him, 2 beers in hand. "Trade you," he said, voice rough from unshed tears. Mason took the bottle, their fingers brushing, a spark in the dark. He was brave up there, braver than us. Oliver nodded, staring at the horizon where thunderheads gathered. "Karen's poison. It's everywhere. But tonight, we won a round." He leaned in, shoulder to Mason's, the warmth seeping through flannel. For a moment it was just them, the world reduced to this swing, this shared breath. But Mason felt it, the unspoken weight. The email he'd found last week on Oliver's laptop, open in a tab. "Can't wait for coffee in Lincoln. Miss our talks, J." J for Jordan, the adjunct professor from Oliver's department. All easy smiles and shared syllabi. Mason hadn't confronted it. He'd closed the tab, heart pounding, and pretended. Betrayal wasn't a thunderclap. It was a slow leak, air hissing out until the tire went flat. As the first raindrops pattered the tin roof, Oliver turned, his hand cupping Mason's jaw. "I love you," he said, simple as scripture. Mason leaned into it, tasting salt, his own or Oliver's he couldn't tell. But love, he knew, demanded truth. And truth was a storm coming. The rain came down in sheets the next morning, turning the gravel drive into a mud slick that sucked at Mason's boots as he loaded Ollie's duffels into the truck. College-bound, Creighton University in Omaha, a scholarship for computer science, his obsession with algorithms a lifeline through the chaos of his mind. "Dad, the forecast said 40%, Ollie said from the porch, tablet in hand, rain sheeting off the awning. "We should wait till noon." Mason forced a grin, wiping mud from his jeans. "Schedules don't bend for percentages, kid. Besides, your Uncle Ray's grilling burgers at the send-off." Ray was Oliver's brother, the straight-arrow farmer who'd become their reluctant ally, hosting family barbecues where Ollie could stim without side-eye. Inside, Oliver was in the kitchen, packing Tupperware with that meticulous care he reserved for crises. Labels facing out, lids snapped tight. "He'll forget to eat without these," he muttered, more to himself than Mason. The air between them hummed with last night's truce, fragile as wet tissue. They drove in convoy, Mason's old Ford leading Ray's pickup, Ollie wedged between them up front, narrating the license plates like a game. "Ohio, Buckeye State, nuts for football. Montana, Big Sky. But did you know it's got more cattle than people?" Oliver chuckled, squeezing Ollie's knee, but Mason caught the glance in the rear view, grateful, strained. Omaha sprawled like a bigger Willow Creek, all flatlands and overpasses, the Missouri River a muddy vein pulsing life. Creighton's campus buzzed with freshmen hauling boxes, parents hovering like helicopters. Ollie's dorm room smelled of fresh paint and possibility, bunk beds and cinderblock walls waiting for posters of binary code and nebulae. As they unpacked, Jordan appeared, like he'd been scripted in, all khakis and corduroy jacket, clipboard in hand as RA. "Oliver and family," he said, extending a hand that lingered too long on Oliver's. "Heard about the graduation drama. Ollie's a legend already. Social media's blowing up with that clip." Mason's stomach twisted. The clip, Karen's outburst, Ollie's unflinching reply, the crowd's roar. It had gone viral overnight, Willow Creek Warrior trending on TikTok, local news vans circling their farmhouse like vultures. Ollie blushed, flapping his hands. It was just data. Input, output. Jordan laughed, that easy baritone that grated on Mason's nerves. Modest genius. "Hey, Prof, we still on for that syllabus review over coffee?" His eyes flicked to Oliver, warm as summer corn. Oliver nodded, casual as breathing. "Yeah, tomorrow." "Mason, you remember Jordan from the faculty mixer?" "Can't say I do," Mason replied, voice even, stacking books on the shelf with more force than needed. The mixer, 3 months back, when Mason had begged off with a headache, leaving Oliver to schmooze alone. Now it felt like a setup, a door cracked open to temptation. They lingered through lunch in the cafeteria, Ollie chattering about Linux distributions while Jordan peppered Oliver with questions about his thesis on queer narratives in Steinbeck. Mason ate in silence, the burger turning to ash, watching the way Jordan's knee brushed Oliver's under the table. Accidental? Intentional? The betrayal gnawed, not loud but insistent, a whisper that said you're losing him. Back on the road that evening, Ollie asleep in the back, the cab filled with the hum of tires on wet asphalt. Oliver reached for the radio, static crackling before landing on NPR. Some story about small-town bigotry, an echo of their own. "Fate's got a sense of humor," Oliver said, voice low. Mason gripped the wheel tighter. "About Jordan?" The silence stretched, rain smearing the windshield like tears. "It's nothing, Mace. Coffee. Work stuff. Bullshit." The word hung heavy, the first crack in the dam. "You've been working late for months. The emails. Miss our talks? That's not footnotes. Oh well." Oliver's face crumpled. Not in denial, but defeat. "I didn't. It's not what you think." He rubbed his temples the way he did when migraines hit. "Jordan gets it, the isolation, the what-ifs. Teaching's my oxygen, but here, it's like drowning in corn syrup. He listens. No judgments. And I do." Mason's voice rose, echoing in the cab. "I've been right here, every meltdown, every IEP war. You think I don't get the what-ifs? The fear will fuck this up." Oliver turned, eyes fierce in the dashboard glow. "You build walls, Mason. Fortresses around Ollie, around us. I love you for it. God, I do. But sometimes I can't breathe inside them. He paused, voice cracking. Jordan's just air. The words landed like punches, each one bruising deeper. Mason pulled over at a rest stop, the neon eat sign flickering like a warning. They sat in the downpour, engines off. The only sound Ollie's soft snores and the relentless drum of rain. I kissed him, Oliver whispered finally, the confession a ghost slipping free. Once, 3 weeks ago after a department happy hour. Stupid, wine-fueled. I stopped it, swore I'd end the coffees. But I haven't because I'm scared, Mace, of us fading. Mason's chest hollowed, the world tilting. Betrayal wasn't the kiss. It was the fear Oliver carried alone. The one Mason's love hadn't touched. He reached across the console, hand finding Oliver's, slick with rain from the dash vent. We're not fading, he said, voice raw. We're weathering, but we can't do it apart. They drove home in fractured quiet. Ollie stirring once to ask, are we lost? Oliver squeezed his hand. No, buddy, just finding our way. Willow Creek greeted them with cleared skies, stars pricking the velvet dark like promises. But Mason lay awake that night, Oliver's breathing even beside him, replaying the confession. Love wasn't a straight line. It looped, nodded, demanded unraveling. And as Ollie's light snoring drifted from down the hall, their boy, launched but tethered, Mason vowed to fight not with walls, but with windows. Open them wide, let the air in even if it howled. Weeks blurred into harvest season, combines rumbling like thunder across the fields, golden stalks bowing under the reaper's blade. Ollie texted daily. Coded my first app. Predicts rain with 87% accuracy. Emojis of suns and thumbs up. A digital hug. But the house felt echoey. Mason and Oliver circling like wary cats. Conversations laced with caution. Mason threw himself into a new project. A mural for the high school, commissioned off the viral clip. A phoenix rising from fractured glass. Wings etched with binary code and rainbow veins. He sketched it in the barn, charcoal smudging his fingers. Oliver wandering in with coffee, watching from the shadows. It's beautiful, Oliver said one dusk, tracing the lines. Like him, like us. Mason set down the pencil, pulling him close. Then let's make it real. No more shadows. They kissed then, slow and searching, hands mapping familiar terrain with renewed hunger. Not for flesh, but for forgiveness. It was a start, threads mending, but the storm clouds lingered on the horizon. Karen Hargrove's arrest made headlines. Disorderly conduct, hate speech charges pending. The town split, half cheering the booing crowd's justice, half muttering about overreactions and those activists ruining traditions. Ray hosted a barbecue to celebrate Ollie's launch, the backyard strung with Edison bulbs, picnic tables groaning under ribs and potato salad. Neighbors came, tentative at first, then warmer. The librarian who'd loaned Ollie every astronomy book, the mechanic who'd fixed their truck gratis after a blizzard. But not everyone. Whispers followed Mason like smoke. Good for the kid, but those two. Always pushing. And then, the letter. Anonymous. Slipped under the door like a serpent's tongue. Willow Creek don't forget. Freaks don't belong. Leave or else. Mason burned it in the sink. Flames licking the edges. But the ash settled in his gut. Fear, that old companion, coiled tighter. October winds stripped the leaves from the maples, turning Willow Creek streets into rivers of crimson and gold. The air crisp with the promise of frost. Mason's mural took shape on the school gym wall, scaffolding creaking under his weight as he layered acrylics. Deep indigos bleeding into fiery oranges, Ollie's phoenix taking flight amid shards that mirrored stained glass, each piece a fragment of their story. A tiny rainbow flag, a spectrum of light waves, the jagged edge of a broken heart mended with code. Kids gathered after school, watching wide-eyed as he worked. That's you and your husband, right? A girl named Mia asked, braces glinting. Mason paused, brush midstroke. Partner, he corrected gently. And yeah, it's us. All of us. She nodded, sketching her own version in a notebook, the innocence of it a balm against the growing chill. Oliver joined him one afternoon, thermos of cider steaming in the October bite. Ray called. Says the co-op's short on hands, harvest rush. Could use you for designs, but... His voice trailed, eyes on the mural's evolving form. But... Mason prompted, descending the ladder, paint flecking his flannel like freckles. Oliver hesitated, rubbing his neck. Jordan's coming to the Lit Festival in Lincoln. Invited me as a panelist. This professional, Mace. Clean slate. The name landed like a skipped stone, rippling old waters. Mason wiped his hands on a rag, the turpentine sharp in his nostrils. And the kiss? The air? I ended it. Oliver's gaze held steady, green eyes earnest. Texted him last week. Friends only, boundaries firm. He respected it. Pause, vulnerable. I want us, Mason, not escape hatches. Mason searched his face, the lines etched by years of laughter and loss. Trust was a muscle, atrophied from neglect. Rebuilding meant reps, soreness, slow gains. Go, he said finally. Shine. Just come home after. Oliver's relief was an exhale, pulling Mason into a hug that smelled of wool and wood smoke. Always. The festival was a weekend affair. Literary tents pitched along the Haymarket, cobblestones echoing with readings and wine tastings. Mason drove Oliver there, dropping him at the hotel with a kiss that lingered, Ollie's voice on speakerphone crackling farewells. Tell Dad not to hover. I'm conquering algorithms, not the world yet. Alone in the farmhouse, Mason rattled like a seed pod, pacing the empty rooms. He called Ray, helped bale hay till his back screamed, sketched logos for seed catalogs under the kitchen lamp. But nights were the worst, bed vast and cold, dreams tangled with Jordan's laugh, Oliver's confessions. He woke sweating, heart racing, the anonymous letters echo, leave or else. Saturday brought the first act of escalation. A brick through the barn window, shards glittering like malice under the moon. No note, but the message clear. Mason swept it up at dawn, glass slicing his palm shallow, blood beating red as accusation. He didn't tell Oliver, not yet. Walls, he thought. No more building them alone. The panel went viral in its own way. Oliver's talk on queer resilience in the Dust Bowl. Weaving Steinbeck's grit with their own Nebraska trials. The crowd riveted, applause thundering. Jordan moderated, professional distance a chasm. But Mason watched the live stream from the farm kitchen, pride swelling past the jealousy. That's my man, he thought, texting. Killed it. Ollie's app just predicted snow, says 62%. Oliver called late, voice buzzed with adrenaline. It was electric, Mace. They asked about the graduation, tied it into themes of otherness. Felt like purpose. Get some sleep, Mason said soft. Love you. Monday morning, the sheriff knocked. Deputy Hale, all starched uniform and sympathetic squint. Another incident? Mason asked, leading him to the barn, the plastic tarp flapping like a flag of surrender. Looks targeted, Hale grunted, notepad out. That letter last month, same vibe. We'll up patrols but folks talk. Hargrove's kin are vocal. Say you're stirring trouble with that mural. Mason's laugh was bitter. Trouble? Ollie's in college, we're just living. But Hale's nod was weary, the law's hands tied by small-town blood. Word spread, of course. Ray showed up with plywood and a six-pack, hammering boards while Mason held the flashlight. Karen's nephew, probably, Ray muttered, nails biting wood. Idiots with grudges. Lila'd roll in her grave. Hated that busybody. They worked till midnight, beers sweating on the workbench, stories flowing like the Platte after thaw. Ray, the straight brother who'd once side-eyed their wedding. Quiet ceremony in the backyard, 2015, rainbows in the sprinklers, now they're rock. You two built something real, he said, clinking bottles. Don't let assholes chip it. Mason nodded, throat tight, trying not to. Oliver returned Sunday, arms full of books and takeout tamales from Lincoln's markets. He froze at the boarded window, face paling. When? Friday. Didn't want to spoil your high. Oliver's eyes flashed. Anger, not at Mason, but the world. We tell Hale everything. And Ollie, no sugarcoating. He needs to know we're fighters, not victims. They called Ollie that night, video chat flickering on the laptop, his dorm a chaos of cables and Star Trek posters. Vandalism sucks, Ollie said matter-of-fact, scripting his response like code. Like entropy increases disorder. But we debug. What's the plan? Oliver laughed, tears brimming. Panel of experts, us. You debug apps. Dad debugs designs. I debug words. Ollie's grin was megawatt. Team Omega. Unbreakable. The phrase stuck, a talisman. Mason inked it into the mural's base. Tiny letters amid the flames. Team Omega. But the threats didn't stop. A slashed tire on Mason's truck, graffiti on the mailbox. Go back to Chicago. The town frayed, neighbors dividing. Some leaving casseroles with notes of support, others crossing streets. Climax brewed at the Harvest Festival, Willow Creek's crown jewel. Hayrides, pumpkin patches, a bonfire that lit the night like judgment. Mason and Oliver debated skipping it, but Ollie insisted via text. Go. Show them. Data point. Visibility reduces bias 23%. They went, hands linked defiantly. Ollie home for the weekend in a Creighton hoodie, flapping with excitement over the Ferris wheel. The air smelled of cider and caramel corn, kids shrieking on rides, but eyes tracked them, curious, cold. Karen's nephew, Brody, lurked by the beer tent, red-faced and swaying. His crew of flannel-clad buddies muttering. Mason steered clear, but as dusk fell and the bonfire crackled, Brody lurched forward, slurring. Think you're heroes? That mural's a disgrace. Freak show family. Oliver stepped up, voice steel. It's resilience, Brody. Look it up. The crowd hushed, a circle forming. Brody sneered, jabbing a finger at Ollie. Your kid's speech? Pathetic. And you two parading this. This sin around decent folk. Ollie, silent till then, spoke. Sin's a variable, Brody. Undefined. But love? That's constant. The words hung, simple math in the firelight. Brody lunged, fist cocked. But Ray materialized, clamping his arm like a vice. Enough! The sheriff's lights flashed at the edge, deputies wading in. Boos rose again, not for Ollie this time, but for Brody, the crowd turning like tide. Mason pulled Oliver close, Ollie's hand in his, as Brody was cuffed, spitting curses. It's over, Mason whispered, but Oliver shook his head. Not yet, but closer. They rode home in the truck, Ollie between them, head on Mason's shoulder. Constance hold, he murmured, drifting off. Oliver met Mason's eyes over his curls. A vow unspoken. We endure. November draped Willow Creek in gray veils. The fields stripped bare, skeletal trees clawing at skies heavy with unshed snow. The mural dedication loomed. A town council event, brass plaque and all, meant to honor Ollie's courage but tangled now in politics. Neutralize the rainbow, Councilman Hargrove, Karen's brother, pushed in meetings, his voice oily as tractor grease. But Mia's class petitioned, hundreds of signatures from kids who'd seen the Phoenix and dreamed bigger, and the vote swung narrow. Keep it whole. Mason prepped in the barn, touch-ups under work lamps, Oliver reading proofs for his chapbook, poems born of the fire, titled Fractals of Us. Ollie contributed a foreword, equations weaving through verses like footnotes to the heart. It's collaborative code, he'd said, proud. But tension simmered. Jordan emailed Oliver. A book wreck, innocuous, but Mason saw it, the old serpent stirring. Boundaries, Oliver affirmed, deleting it unread. He's a colleague, not a chapter. Mason believed him, mostly. Trust rebuilding like the wall, board by board. The dedication dawned brittle cold, breath fogging as they gathered. Mason in his best jacket, Oliver beside him, Ollie fidgeting with a Rubik's Cube, solved in seconds. Ray manned the grill with hot cider, neighbors milling. The librarian with her wife, hand in hand. The mechanic, gruff but grinning. Even Deputy Hale nodding approval. Councilman Hargrove spoke first. Words clipped. This honors perseverance. Let's move on. But then Ollie took the mic. Unscripted, voice clear as winter stream. Perseverance isn't solo. It's Dad's steady hands on the brush, Pop's words that light the dark. It's you, all of you who booed the hate. We're Team Omega. Unbreakable because we're together. Applause thundered, genuine, washing over the doubts. Mia presented a class mosaic, tiny tiles of colored glass, echoing the mural's shards, and Hargrove's face soured, but he clapped mechanical. After, in the gym warmed by space heaters, punch spiked lightly, laughter bubbling. Oliver pulled Mason to the dance floor. Slow sway to an old Springsteen tune, Thunder Road, bodies close, Ollie's cheers from the sidelines. This is us, Oliver murmured, breath warm on Mason's neck. Whole. But wholeness cracked that night. Mason found the second letter in the mailbox. Not slipped, but mailed, postmark Lincoln. I miss you. Coffee wasn't just coffee. We have something real. Leave him, Jay. Attached, a photo. Oliver and Jordan at the festival, heads bent close over a book, intimate as secrets. Mason's hands shook, crumpling it, the betrayal blooming fresh, a thorn not pulled clean. He waited up, Oliver home late from a reading at the library, cheeks flushed from wine and words. How was it? Mason asked, voice neutral, the letter burning in his pocket. Raw. They loved the autism thread, Ollie's influence. Oliver hung his coat, oblivious. Then, sensing, Mason pulled the paper free, letting it flutter to the table like a dead leaf. Oliver's face drained, eyes widening. He sent that? I blocked him, swear. The photo says different. Mason's tone edged sharp, hurt lancing through. Intimate little chat. Oliver snatched it, scanning, crumpling tighter. Context. Syllabus debate. God. Mace, it's manipulated. Cropped to lie. He paced. Frantic. I told you, ended it. But Jordan. He's persistent. Thinks it's unrequited tension. Unrequited. Mason's laugh cracked. Or just convenient. When Ollie's gone, and I'm the wall you're climbing. Oliver stopped, pain etching deep. That's not fair. You're my anchor, always. This. He jabbed the letter. It's noise. Delete it. But Mason couldn't, not yet. Noise erodes, oh well, like waves on rock. How many coffees before it caves? The argument spiraled, voices rising in the kitchen's yellow light. Ollie asleep upstairs oblivious. Oliver accused Mason of paranoia. Walls again. Mason hurled back abandonment fears, the kiss a specter. I need air too, Oliver shouted finally, storming out to the porch, door slamming like punctuation. Mason sank to a chair, head in hands, the house creaking around him. Love's drama wasn't fireworks but embers, glowing hot then cold, demanding tending. He thought of Ollie, the boy who'd bridged worlds with words, and raised gruff wisdom. Don't let assholes chip it. But this chip was self-inflicted, doubt the chisel. Dawn crept gray, Oliver returning rumpled, eyes red-rimmed. I called him, he said, voice hoarse. Told Jordan done. No contact, or I report harassment. For us. He slid the phone across. Call log? Blocked number. Timestamp 3:47 a.m. Mason pulled him down. Embrace fierce. I'm sorry. Fear's my demon. Mine's complacency, Oliver whispered, letting distance grow weeds. They held on, fractures mending with morning light, but the scar tissue promised. Stronger, but tender. Ollie sensed the shift over Thanksgiving, home with cranberry-stained fingers, helping mash potatoes. Entropy detected, he said, eyeing them across the table. But reversible. Apply heat. Talk. They did, post-dinner, Ray snoring in the recliner, football droning. On the porch swing, bundled in quilts, they unpacked. The kiss's loneliness, Mason's isolation in fatherhood, Oliver's ache for intellectual spark. We integrate, Oliver said. Your designs with my words, joint projects. Date nights, real ones. Mason nodded, tracing Oliver's knuckles. And therapy. For all of us. Ollie too, if he wants. The plan took root, seeds in winter soil. They joined a Lincoln support group. LGBTQ families in the heartland. Stories echoing theirs. Vandalisms, whispers, triumphs small and seismic. Ollie attended once, scripting questions emerging with, "Humans are algorithms, flawed but upgradable." Winter gripped tight, blizzards burying the roads, but they shoveled out together, literally, figuratively. Mason's freelance boomed, viral mural spawning commissions. Pride flags for Omaha cafes, awareness graphics for autism orgs. Oliver's chapbook sold out at local shops, readings drawing crowds hungry for hope. Yet the threats lingered, a shadow. Christmas Eve, snow blanketing the farm like forgiveness. They strung lights on the barn. Ollie on the ladder, Oliver steadying, Mason untangling cords. "Team Omega," Ollie declared, plugging in, the glow chasing dark. But midnight brought hail again. Another break-in, tools scattered. A single word spray-painted on the wall. Abomination. Brody's handiwork. Prints matching. Arrest followed swift, Hargrove clan howling. But evidence stuck. In the aftermath, Willow Creek exhaled. Editorials in the Gazette praised the mural as a beacon. PDA inviting Ollie for a guest talk. Even Councilman Hargrove grumbled concession. Boys got grit. New Year's, they toasted in the kitchen. Cider for Ollie, whiskey for them. Resolutions whispered. More us. Less fear. Fireworks burst over fields, but their spark burned steadier. Spring teased early, crocuses pushing through frost, mirroring the thaw in their bones. Ollie aced midterms, app pitching to profs. Mason and Oliver planned a vow renewal, quiet, backyard, Ray officiating. Love, they learned, wasn't absence of storm but dancing in it. April bloomed riotous, dogwoods unfurling pink against the endless blue. Willow Creek stirring from hibernation like a bear with a grudge. The renewal ceremony crept closer. May 15th, anniversary of their Chicago first date, back when love was wild and uncharted. Mason sketched invitations. Minimalist hearts cracked open to reveal stars. Ollie's input adding constellation lines. Navigation, the boy said, for finding home. But harmony fractured subtle. Oliver's college hosted a guest lecturer on queer theory, panels buzzing, and Jordan, despite the block, appeared in emails forwarded by HR. Professional courtesy invite. Oliver declined, but the ripple hit Mason like aftershock. It's done, Oliver insisted over breakfast, eggs scraping plates. Ghost of Christmas past. Mason nodded, but doubt whispered. How many ghosts? He threw into work, a new commission for Pride Omaha. Billboards of intertwined hands bridging city and country, rainbows arcing over prairies. Nights he dreamed of fractures, mural shards multiplying, cutting deep. Ollie noticed, home for spring break, his duffel thumping the floor. Variance increasing, he announced, unpacking circuits. You too. Standard deviation 15%. Fix. Variable substitution. Date intervention. They laughed, but he was right. That weekend, they drove to Lincoln's sunken gardens. Tulips a riot of color. Ollie trailing with his camera, snapping macros of petals like equations. Mason and Oliver wandered paths, hands swinging loose. Remember Boys Town? Oliver asked, pausing at a fountain. First parade. Us in glitter, hungover and happy. Mason grinned, pulling him close. You in that feather boa. Queen of the floats. Water trickled, soothing. Missed the chaos sometimes. Oliver's eyes softened. We make our own now. Steady chaos. He kissed Mason's temple, lingering. Jordan was a detour. You're the road. The words healed, a stitch in the seam. They picnicked, sandwiches from the co-op, Ollie's playlist of indie folk humming. Talking dreams deferred. A cabin in the sandhills, vacations beyond state lines. Ollie joined, scripting a family algorithm. Inputs of laughter, outputs of legacy. Back home, the ceremony prep bloomed. Ray built an arch from reclaimed barnwood, twined with wildflowers. The librarian's wife baked a cake, rainbow layers. Invites went out, 50 strong, a tapestry of allies. Creighton profs, mural fans, even Deputy Hale. But May 1st brought the storm's howl. Ollie called frantic. Dad, murals vandalized. Overnight. Mason's blood iced. They raced to the school. Oliver white-knuckled on the wheel. The Phoenix wept black. Slashed with paint. Wings dripping freaks in dripping red. Crowd gathered by dawn. Mia crying. Kids photographing for a GoFundMe already live. Councilman Hargrove arrived, feigning shock, but his eyes gleamed schadenfreude. Tragic, he drawled. Perhaps too provocative. Oliver's rage ignited. Provocative? It's truth. He stormed the scaffold, brush in hand, scrubbing while Mason mixed whites, Ollie handing rags. Neighbors joined. Mechanic with turpentine, librarian with gloves. The work of defiance. Layers peeled to reveal the bones beneath. By noon, the Phoenix rose anew, scars visible but stronger, gold leaf on the edges like healed wounds. Media swarmed, Omaha News, even a CNN blip. Heartland hate can't dim pride. Donations poured, enough for a scholarship in Ollie's name. That night, exhausted, they collapsed on the porch, Ollie between them, stars wheeling overhead. Resilience fractal, he murmured. Self-similar. Bigger pattern from small breaks. Oliver squeezed Mason's hand. Our pattern. But betrayal's echo lingered. The next day, Hale knocked. Prints on the can. Brody out on bail, but an accomplice, Jordan Ellis, Lincoln address. Mason's world tilted. Him. Caught on cam, driving the guitar truck. Motive? Jealousy, looks like. Hargrove connection. Distant cousin. Oliver's face shattered. Denial crumbling to horror. Why? But the evidence stacked. Texts to Brody, help me win him back. Show the family's no joke. A plot, twisted love curdling to sabotage. Mason pulled Oliver aside. Barn shadows long. You didn't know. I trusted blind. Oliver's voice broke. My fault, dragging this poison home. No. Mason cupped his face. We burn it clean. They confronted via phone. Oliver's voice steal. HR looped. Termination pending. Charges for vandalism. Jordan's pleas dissolved to sobs. I loved you. Couldn't let go. Love doesn't destroy, Oliver said. Hanging up. Block eternal. They stood in silence. Then Oliver turned, burying in Mason's chest. I'm yours. Only. The admission sealed it, betrayal's blade withdrawn. They canceled the renewal, pivoted. Smaller, immediate, backyard under the mended mural's gaze. May 15th dawned golden, arch blooming, 30 souls circling. Ray teary, Ollie best man scripting vows in code. If love then forever. Oliver's words. You, Mason, are my constant. In storms, in silences. I falter, but with you I rise. Mason's, you're my horizon. OL, wide pulling me forward. No more detours. Rings exchanged. Simple bands etched with omega. Kiss ceiling, Ollie's whoop piercing the cheers. Cake cut, dances spun, the night a bomb. Summer hummed in, Ollie interning at a tech startup. App beta testing for autism AIDS. Mason's billboards dotted highways. Oliver's readings touring Nebraska lit fests. Threats faded, Brody jailed, Jordan relocated. But scars schooled them. Vigilance, not walls. One July Eve, post-fireworks. They lay in the hammock. Ollie crashed inside post-barbecue. Humanistic, huh? Oliver mused, fingers in Mason's hair. All this mess and we end up. Us. Mason chuckled. Dramatic as hell, though. Worth it. Kiss soft. Stars witnesses. August baked the plains, heat waves shimmering off asphalt like mirages of escape. But Willow Creek held firm. Roots deep in lush soil, unyielding. Ollie's freshman year loomed. Creighton a 40-minute drive he'd master with podcasts and playlists. But summer's end brought a quiet ache. Empty nest. The house there's again. Echoes of flapping hands and midnight meltdowns fading to memory. Mason felt it first, the vastness. Mornings, coffee for two, no third mug steaming. He sketched absent-mindedly, designs for a national autism campaign. See the spectrum, portraits of kids like Ali, eyes alight with worlds unseen. Oliver noticed over dinner one night, grilled corn from Ray's stand, butter dripping. He's thriving, Mace. We did that. Yeah. Mason poked at his plate. But the quiet. It's loud. Oliver reached across, thumb stroking wrist. Then fill it. Us. They did, date nights reclaimed. Drive-in movies in Grand Island, Top Gun reruns with popcorn wars. Hikes in the Pine Ridge, Oliver reciting Whitman, while Mason photographed lichens like abstract art. Sex wasn't the fire it was in youth. No, deeper now, touches reverent, bodies maps of endurance. But always emotions undercurrent. I choose you, again. Ollie's send-off barbecue doubled as town reconciliation. Ray's spread, picnic tables under oaks, the mural projected on a sheet for slideshow memories. Neighbors came in mass. Mia, now a sophomore, hugging Ollie. The librarian toasting Team Omega. Even a contrite Hargrove cousin, mumbling apology over pie. Councilman Hargrove stayed away, but his seat warmed by a letter in the Gazette. Willow Creek grows, lessons from the Phoenix. Progress inching. As dusk fell, bonfire crackling, Ollie took the mic. Impromptu, like graduation's echo. Data shows. Adversity accelerates adaptation. Willow Creek. Input hate, output unity. Thanks to my dad's, Mason's anchors, Oliver's verses. Constants in my code. Cheers swelled. Hugs exchanged. The night a tapestry mended. Later, driving home, Ollie in back with a cooler's worth of leftovers. He said, pride level, 98%. Threshold met. Mason glanced in the rear view, heart full. Love you, kid. Creighton swallowed Ollie whole. Labs till midnight. Hackathons birthing apps that flagged sensory overloads in real time. Texts flew. App version 2.0 live. Saved a meltdown today. Miss your pancakes. They visited weekends. Dorm evolved to organized chaos. Posters of fractals mingling with pride flags. Fall deepened. Leaves carpeting roads in fire. Mason's campaigns launching to acclaim. Spectrum billboards from Omaha to Lincoln. Stories shared of Ollie's journey. Oliver's second book deal landed. Prairie Hearts. Weaving their saga into fiction, dedication. For M&O. My unbreakable loop. But autumn's cusp brought the final tempest. Not external, but internal. A reckoning long deferred. Oliver collapsed one October eve, post-reading in Kearney, chest tight, vision blurring. Mason rushed him to Methodist. ER lights harsh. Diagnosis. Stress cardiomyopathy. Broken heart syndrome. Irony bitter as gall. You're killing yourself? Mason whispered in the sterile room. For dripping, monitors beeping steady. The walls, the fears. We carried them too long. Oliver's hand weak in his. Worth every beat. For you. For him. Ollie arrived by dawn. Pale but composed. Scripting reassurances. Recovery algorithm. Rest inputs. Love outputs. 92% success rate. The hospital stay stretched a week, tests, therapy referrals, family counseling mandated. Ray brought meals, the group from Lincoln sent cards rainbow streaked. Discharge brought home changes. Yoga mats unrolled, walks at dusk, talks unfiltered. Jordan was symptom. Oliver admitted in session. Circle of three under a therapist's gentle prod. Of me chasing validation outside us. Mason nodded. Ollie's fidget toy clicking. And I armored up. Protected so hard I shut out. Ollie. Parental variables. Overcorrect. Solution. Balance loop. Healing wove slow, humanistic in its humility. Admitting flaws not as failures but features. Oliver stepped back from adjuncting, focusing on writing. Mason delegated designs, time for them. Ollie thrived. App winning grants, weekends home bridging gaps. Winter solstice brought snow-globed peace. Lights twinkling on the barn. Now a studio shared. Mason's easels beside Oliver's desk. Ollie's visits scripting chapters. New Year's. They toasted not resolutions but presence. Here, now us. Spring 2027 cycled in, Ollie sophomore strong, dating tentative, a boy from coding club, gentle with stims, approved via vetting texts. He's constant, Ollie reported. Like you too. The mural, 2 years on, weathered but vibrant, drew tourists, selfies tagged Phoenix Rising, Willow Creek a pin on maps of resilience. Karen Hargrove, post-trial, community service at the food pantry, eyes downcast. Whispers said she'd softened, a grandson on the spectrum shifting scales. 1 June dawn, post-Ollie's summer internship launch, Mason and Oliver stood at the farm's edge, coffee steaming, sun cresting fields. By kitsch or ko how? Oliver teased, mangling Vietnamese from a book, meaning tragedy or happy end. Mason laughed, arm around waist. Human, messy middle. But ours? The kind that endures. Oliver turned, kiss sunrise warm. Endures, evolves. Love's greatest code. Behind them, the house stood sentinel, Ollie's laughter drifting from the kitchen. Pancakes sizzling, life looping infinite. In America's heartland, amid corn whispers and starlit silences, they were the story. Dramatic, emotional, romantic. A testament that even in betrayal's shadow, love rebuilds, brick by tender brick, into something unbreakable. And as the phoenix watched from the school wall, wings spread wide, Willow Creek breathed freer, one fractal at a time.